we're coming towards the end of the session, but there is one point that we probably haven't touched on at all in all of this. Talking about leadership, is the difference in pay, which has been a big topic. And I just do feel like we need to just try and at least put that out there and just bat it around for a moment. I mean, it's accepted that there is a gap, obviously, between the pay of many men and women, sometimes doing the same job for less. Do women need to be more pushy about their pay?
I think there's two ways of looking at this, if I'm honest. I think that if you look, so lots of men from the BBC took a pay cut recently to bring themselves more in line with what the women get paid. So for me, there's a bigger picture here. Have they been on the gravy train for way too long and being paid way too much? Or actually have women not been paid enough? And both of those are very wrong for very same reasons, so that there needs to be. Now, I do understand that men potentially, as we were talking earlier about being different, they have the confidence to go and ask for a pay rise. So if you start two people on the same job, someone asks for a pay rise, someone doesn't, you don't want to lose them, you want to keep productivity going. Is it right? No, but I do understand how we may have got some slight disparages. What I find horrendous is what Tesco's were accused of yesterday, and I do say allegedly, in that they are paying, at the starting point, their women workers less than their men's workers. Now that for me is culture. Culturally, that organisation will never recover from what broke out yesterday, if that's true. Because I don't want to be part of that. I'm sure that no woman would apply to work there, and their business model is broken. So I think to some extent, come May, I know there are companies that I work for, are doing work with now, that they will not publish their pay gap because they would rather take the fine because they know how detrimentally bad it will be. So there's been a lot of people talking a very good game about this, but come May when we see this, and I think, yes, there's a pay gap, I think it's going to be so interesting how it moves forward, and I'm really, really glad that I'm not the CEO.
Is shaming the way to fix this problem?
No, it's not. It is, but only because it fixes the culture, and it's back to values, it's back to what do we think is important. We need to get off it being about gender, we need to get it onto what's right for an organisation, what's right for individuals working, right person, right job, right flexibility, right culture, and everything else just falls away.
I think. Can I just say something, because I think we need to be really careful here, because there are two subjects which are getting mixed up. Okay? One is equal pay. Okay? Equal pay has been illegal for 30-something years, or discriminating. And it's really shameful that the likes of Tesco's, and other large organisations are still not paying women and men the same level. But that is different from the gender pay gap. Okay? Gender pay gap regulation says that every firm who employ more than 250 people have to report certain pay statistics to the government. And you can go to the government website and see it now. Those statistics are what your average man in the organisation earns against what your average woman in the organisation earns. In financial services, the average woman earns about 30% less than the average man. That's not saying that two people doing the same job earn 30% less. What it's saying and what it's showing is that men are mostly at the top of the organisation earning big salaries, and women are mostly at the lower end of the organisation. And that shouldn't be confused with equal pay. Okay? What that is showing you is an inequality. The men get promoted, get better jobs, and that's where you get a lack of diversity and a lack of performance.
And it may
you asked the question. So you asked the question: should women ask for a pay rise? That was the question that you asked. As somebody who runs an organisation, I think it's appalling that anybody should ever come to asking for a pay rise, because if you haven't recognised that they deserve one, and you should be looking at that all the time, you should be looking at your pay across the organisation at least every 6 months, making sure it's fair, that people are rewarded for what they do. I think it's dreadful that somebody has to worry about it for days on end, and then has to make an appointment to see their boss and say, I think I deserve more. That shouldn't happen. It's a dreadful thing to ask somebody, male, female, doesn't matter who they are. And I'd be gutted if somebody said that to me, because I hadn't really accepted that they were making a really valuable contribution. So you should never have to ask.
Anna, did you want to bring this up in there?
So I was just following up on that point, saying that I think gender pay gap is quite important, because it actually might flag discrimination in terms of recruitment processes and promotions to senior roles. So I think that's where the discrimination can come across. And in regards to women being pushy about their pay, I agree with you. You should be recognized for what you're doing already. And it is true that men and women approach these situations differently, like the job applications, that women seem to want to meet all the essential criteria before they apply. But having said that, and coming back to the gender stereotypes, when we are perceived to be pushy about our pay, that doesn't come along very well to our employees. And I think it's unfair to expect women to fix the situation, because it can actually lead to consequences.
So it's wrong to put the onus on women to try
definitely.
and fix this. But does anyone in the audience want to sort of chime in? If we are coming towards the end of the session. Go on. Yes.
I think it's worth putting in the fact of benchmarking. A lot of companies use benchmarking as their justification for keeping the gaps. And I've worked with several organisations where that's been a real issue. You know, whether that starts aligning with that gender pay gap, and you know, it's like the process has actually allowed that to happen. Benchmarking has got to get more intelligent as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, when we're talking about pay and pay, equal pay and gender pay gap, what I think we should be focusing on is more to do with the transparency of pay. Okay, focusing on that area, focus on job evaluations and making sure that the job is evaluated for the right person to do the right things at the right time, the right amount of produce for the right pay, regardless of gender. All right, but where that fits in with the person wanting that job, are they able to fulfil that? Let's not confine them to the 9 to 5 stereotype. Let's have a look at that scenario. But certainly, when looking at pay transparency, it has been shown that men are better at negotiating. Okay, it has been said that men are better at negotiating pay than women. Whether that's a confidence thing or not, I don't know. Get rid of that. Okay, it shouldn't be a factor. You're quite right. And what we should be focusing on is, okay, this job requires this kind of work, regardless of time and how that could be done, as long as it's completed, and how much is that going to cost. All right, and getting the right person in to do that. All right. Now, there is a gender pay gap. There are organisations with the top tier being more male orientated than females. That's not just led by old school mentalities. Sometimes that's industry led as well. So you're looking at certain industries that draw in more males than females. For instance, the automotive industry, all right, and more manual labour roles. Okay, factories and things like that, which typically do attract more men than women, and therefore there may be a disparity in that gap, but that could be explained by certain key narrative on those when they're publishing their particular results. Okay, and what we need to focus on certainly is the clarity on the jobs that are required, clarity on the pay that's required for those particular roles, looking at making the family-friendly policies more male-centric than just female-focused as well, all right? Pushing that possibility of everybody can get this rather than just females, all right, in order to help reduce those roles. There's several ways of focusing on. There's, even in this little handout, there's a few ideas of how to deal with this. We must be careful because we need to make sure that we're doing things in the right way and making sure we're not positively discriminating against individuals too.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for your input. Did anyone else before? There was one when you were talking about the confusion between the unequal pay and the gender pay gap. I wondered, does that mean that there's ever a situation where a gender pay gap is acceptable? I mean, are people too often confusing the two, and that actually sometimes a gender pay gap may be something that isn't necessarily something that means the company is viewing things in a negative way, and is that causing problems?
I think it might, and I think it's just a metric, isn't it? You know, if you look at a statistic as a standalone, it's never going to be, and I think it is just a metric. But I think that if you are talking a good game, you've got 50-50 on your board, you've got whatever, and you've still got to you probably have an issue. So, but I think we need to be careful not to get hung up on it, because that's not it's not the solution.
For example, will have a massive gap between males and females because it will be females up there. Do you know what I mean? So it's a very crude measure.
It
and I
is.
think
It's not the
being
right measure.
Misinterpreted in the press, and
Yeah.
it's not entirely helpful.
It's the old lies, damn lies and statistics point, isn't it? So taking something like that, it's a useful tool, but it's a lousy master.
It's a diagnostic and nothing more than that.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be, it's not useful this year, the first year. Where it is going to be useful is next year, where you can
Yeah.
see how people's gender pay gaps have changed. You know, if an organisation is saying that they're going to balance their workforce, change their culture, and then you look at their stats and actually nothing's happened.
It's a measurement, isn't it?
I mean,
It's a measurement.
I agree with that. Even then, you look what you see with schools where you have a difficulty, a small school with a challenging intake or an excellent intake one year and a challenging intake the year after, and suddenly that school's defined as having dramatically underachieved and is put in special measures or something ridiculous, just because statistically they happened to have suffer from a poor intake, inverted commas, one year compared with another year. So with all of these things, we've got to treat each statistic very, very carefully and not get hung up on that, because it's a lovely media one, isn't it? The media can pick up on that and miss the entire point. And
Do you think
Darn media. It's always the media. Isn't it?
sorry.
Put a question to you there as the media.
You're going to have to be quick because we need to move on.
Media.
Very
Should we be highlighting the plight of Carrie Gracie, the BBC reporter, over the appalling gender statistics that are affecting thousands of women? You know, are the media reporting things?
It's often through grand gestures like the one done by Carrie Grace that it sort of starts the debate.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people who might have come here today might have come because actually it does feel like a very topical thing in the news. How the debate is framed, how it's taken ownership is really sort of up to people like yourselves, and hopefully it allows businesses to have those debates and think more carefully. It's not done perfectly, but we'll get there.